Welcome to the Hardcore Closer Podcast. I'm Ryan Stewman, founder of HardcoreCloser.com, and this podcast is all about helping you, the salesperson, close more sales. And look, whether you're selling cars, homes, financial services, consulting, whatever it is that you sell, this podcast is dedicated to help you generate higher quality leads, increase your closing ratios, and show you how to charge premium fees for the items you sell so you can get paid what you're worth. What up, Closer Nation? Welcome to episode 112 of the Hardcore Closer Podcast. I'm your boy, Ryan Stewman, Hardcore Closer, in case you were wondering. And I'm so glad that you're here. If you're a first timer, make sure you check out all the previous episodes. There's at least 111 other episodes here. And as always, do me a favor, leave me a review on iTunes. That helps the show out a ton. It helps me get exposure. It helps me reach the goal of hitting 300 million salespeople across the globe and helping to improve their sales game, improve their life, and just improve their mindset, because that's really what it's all about. I give you an example right here. This says, it's a review from Tony Gretsch. It says, Hardcore Closer is a must-listen podcast. I couldn't agree more. Just couldn't agree more. It said, I never miss a podcast. Ryan's content is fresh, engaging, and I always pull something relevant out of it. If you're a sales professional, you need to always be working on perfecting your craft, and Ryan brings the goods every single time. Tony Gretsch, loan officer with Luxury Mortgage. I appreciate that, Tony Gretsch. Real quick before we get into the episode, listen, if you work in sales, you're probably listening to this for a reason, right? Because that's like what you do. You're trying to improve your sales game and all that other stuff. What I'd like to invite you to do is go over to closercards.com and grab you a stack of closer cards. They're basically flashcards for salespeople. Because see, when we're young, we learn multiplication, addition, subtraction, addition, I think I already said it, division, and ABCs and everything else from flashcards. But then when we get old and we go to work in the sales community, our sales manager sits a phone book in front of us and says, smile and dial, motherfucker. And you learn by default and by, just failing forward, basically. But I offer a better way, and that's with closer cards. You write objections down on one side, you practice, and you write the rebuttals down to the objections on the other side. You practice the flashcards every day, just like you did when you were a young kid, to get ahead in life. So go over to closercards.com. One other advertisement I want to make sure that you understand is that we have another podcast now, and it's called the Get Your Mind Right podcast. I do an episode every single day of the week, and you can go to hardcorecloser.com. It's on iTunes. It's on YouTube. Just, search Get Your Mind Right, and it'll pop up. And the thing is with that podcast, it's something I want you to listen to every single morning as soon as you get out of bed. Like, hop up, grab your phone, put your earphones in, and listen to my voice every day. What I'm doing is I'm subliminally rewiring your subconscious for success. That was a lot of S's there, by the way. But that's exactly what I'm doing every morning. The first thing you need to hear is some positivity, some motivation, something that's going to change your life. Because we all know when you change your mind, you change your life. And that's what I'm doing is I'm rewiring and changing your mind so that I can ultimately change your life. So check out the Get Your Mind Right podcast. They're only like 5-10 minutes each episode. So they're like super quick. And it's just me, just the Reverend Ryan Stewman, just laying out some hardcore truth for you that you really need to hear. And like I said, you can find it on SoundCloud, Libsyn, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It's all over the damn place. Just look for Get Your Mind Right. The best place to do it is go to hardcorecloser.com. So between Getting Your Mind Right podcast and the closer cards, you should be a bad motherfucker by the time a month has passed. If you just give me a month with both of those things, I'll change your entire life. Which brings me to the episode this week is what's changed in my life in the last 12 months. This podcast is mainly about 5 things to do this, 5 ways to do this. And we've stuck with that thing for a long time. I want to break that pattern for a minute. If this was Tony Robbins, this would be a pattern interrupt. And I want to talk to you about some things that have gone on with me personally in my life in the last 12 months. And so this isn't going to be your typical Hardcore Closer podcast. This isn't going to be your typical 5 ways to do X that will allow you to do Y podcast. I'm just going to get real with you. Can I have your permission to get real with you? If you've been listening to this show for a long time, you'll notice that I skipped through the advertisement and the intro pretty damn quick because I want to get into the meat of this and really share some stuff with you. So if you're new, this isn't how we typically do these things, but I'm just going to get real and I'm going to get raw as fuck with you on this one, right? Oh, baby, I like it raw. Y'all remember the ODB? He liked it raw. I think he died of AIDS, didn't he? He definitely did like it raw. So anyway, in the last 12 months, I am no longer the person that I used to be. For years, I was and I'm still Ryan, I'm still cool ass motherfucking hardcore closer, don't get me wrong. But I have leveled up tremendously, and I'm going to explain some of the things that took place in my life that allowed me to level up. And do I recommend going down this path for you? Maybe, maybe not. That's up to you. You should always consult somebody smart, like a lawyer or a doctor or a CPA or somebody like that, instead of just listening to me. Matter of fact, I'll tell you guys a funny story because I like funny stories. Yesterday, I'm scrolling my Facebook newsfeed, and this dude is like, post on Facebook. He's like, for the last 6 days, every time I eat, I throw up blood immediately. Do you think something's wrong with me? What do you think could be wrong with me? Like, did you just ask Facebook for fucking serious? Like, you could have pancreatic fucking cancer or some shit. Did you just ask fucking your Facebook friends every time you eat for the last 6 days? First of all, what the fuck took you 6 days to fucking ask people this question? And second of all, who the fuck are your Facebook? I'm one of your Facebook friends. That means the majority of your Facebook friends have to be probably like me, which aren't doctors, which couldn't fucking diagnose you. Go to a fucking hospital. Anyway, I just thought that was fucking crazy, right? But in the last 12 months, I have changed dramatically. And you should always, unlike the guy that posted on Facebook, you should always consult a professional before you do anything that I'm about to tell you to do. But I'm going to share with you what I've done and what's worked for me. And maybe you can duplicate it. Maybe it'll work for you. Maybe you go out there and you try it and you fail flat on your face. Just don't blame me because I'm just telling you what worked for me. Okay, that's what we call a disclaimer. About a year ago, I was in the mountains of Utah, and I went on a spiritual journey with ayahuasca and mushrooms and the Syrian root, and I had an epiphany. I talked to God while I was up there. I told you I was going deep right off the fucking jump here, so let's just take it for what it is. I talked to God while I was up there. And this thing that, obviously I'm sitting in a room tripping my fucking balls off. And so while I'm tripping my balls off, I'm having this spiritual intervention with this thing. And I'll just call it God for lack of a better phrase. And it starts downloading this divine wisdom inside me. And when I say downloading divine wisdom, man, it gave me stuff that I can't sit here and explain to you, but I understand it. You would have to go on your own journey. Do I recommend you doing illegal drugs in America? No, I do not. Do I recommend you doing drugs in Utah? That's risky as fuck because I don't even think Mormon beer has real alcohol in it, right? So just be fucking careful out there. However, the shit changed my life. And Utah just happened to be the place where my life changed. One of the things that this divine being told me was, Ryan, what got you where you are now, calling people out, starting shit, being a confrontionist, right? Like confrontationist, being confrontational, that's not going to get you to where you want to be, Ryan. Your goal is to impact 300 million people. Why would you want to piss 300 million people off? That's the path that you're on. And I was like, whoa, man, that's fucking heavy, right? And because that's how you talk when you're tripping balls. And it was. And then when I woke up out of this state, like 12 hours later, man, it was fucking intense. When I woke up out of this state, man, I decided to become a different person. I decided that, you know what, maybe this divine entity was correct. And it didn't happen overnight, but gradually things in my life have dramatically changed in the last 12 months. I knew right then from that conversation with this divine being that I had to level up. What I also learned was that if you believe in reincarnation, we'll call it that I asked the divine being, I said, hey, man, or thing, whatever you are, why has life been so hard on me? I was adopted at age 7, dropped out of school in the 8th grade. I've been to prison twice, divorced 3 times. I've been addicted to drugs. I've had all sorts of fucking issues in my life. I've been shit on by pretty much everybody that I've ever loved. And it said, you asked for these things. You decided to make your life hard. And I made a decision that I was no longer going to make my life hard. I was no longer going to deprive myself. I used to brag about wearing cheap clothes and sporting a Fitbit, even though I was a millionaire. And all that's because I didn't think I deserved the finer things in life. Even though I was working my ass off for them, even though I was delivering massive amounts of great content for people, I just didn't feel like I deserved it. I had a low self-worth, even though I had a high net worth by some people's. To me, I don't have a high net worth. I mean, I could be worth 100 million and still think I'm broke because, I don't have a billion. Then when I get a billion, I could have a billion and I'm still not Warren Buffett. So I still feel broke. That's just how I am. But I chose these things and I chose to deprive myself and I chose to do these things the hard way. And this divine being pointed it out to me and I said, no more. And I decided to level up. And over the course of the year, my eyes would be open to many more things that I knew I needed to change in my life. But, we have these attachments and we refuse to set boundaries. We have attachments oftentimes to the wrong things, and we have boundaries, and we refuse to set up boundaries against the right things. But I knew I had to level up. And so I knew I couldn't just become this new person overnight, or the marketplace would go, hey, who abducted Ryan? What kind of psychedelic drugs did you give that guy? Because you totally fucked him up. And so I had to make a gradual change. I couldn't just flip a switch overnight. So I leveled up, from hoodies and T-shirts, which is still cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I wear them occasionally, but for the most part now I wear button-up shirts, a Rolex, nice pants, loafers. Because one thing I realized, and one thing that's been told to me by my mentor for years, is that you can't catch minnows, you can't catch whales with minnow bait. And I knew that me dressing in hoodies, and I like tattoos and all that stuff. And when I first started doing that, I said, I'm working to serve the market that's underserved. All the guys out there like Brian Tracy, Grant Cardone, they always wore suits and ties and everything else. And now if you look at him, Grant, he wears hoodies and everything else. Maybe he's trying to be like me. I don't know. And I knew that it was time for me to level up and actually become a professional instead of some dude that worked just from home helping people. And I knew that my addiction to marijuana was an excuse for a lot of people that were coming to my circle that can remain addicted. And most people can't function on drugs the way that I could. And I was being a bad example. And so I decided it was time for me to level up across the board. And number two is, as we crossed over multiple millions of dollars in income last year, just stroked a check for the IRS for $495,000 for a couple of my companies yesterday. It's pretty, I don't know the word that I would use. They're pretty melodramatic. Like on one end, I was excited to be able to write a check that big that I actually had the money. On the other hand, that was a lot of money, But it's because I had to come to the realization that I'm running a business and not a fun lifestyle anymore. I had a business that was run with my friends, and my friends didn't take it as seriously as me because they weren't making the money I made. And so, they weren't performing in the way that they were. And it was still, let's go have drinks at 3:00 and all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't serving me well. And I had to step up and decided to run a business. I have employees that work for me now. I have mostly people on salary that work for me now. I have a very small sales team that's doing a great job. We're breaking records every single week with a lot less manpower. And it's all because I decided to step up and become a CEO and not just some salesman. You see, when I was a salesman at my last true sales job, hell, I was a loose cannon. Smoked pot all day, fucking broke all the rules, but I made so many sales, nobody could tell me shit. And so it was hard to deal with. And I ran my business the same way. Hey, I do this shit my way. I wear fucking hoodies. I talk shit, talk about doing drugs, do whatever the fuck I want. I do whatever. I sound like Eric Cartman, And I realized that I'm running a business, and if I continued acting that way, I was only going to attract minnows instead of whales. And I want to do business with millionaires. I'm doing business with millionaires. I'm trying to help people get to their next million, not their first million. And while if you haven't made your first million, there's still programs and stuff that I have for people. But on a personal level, I didn't want to work with broke people anymore. And I wanted to work and to even take that a step further, I only wanted to work with wealthy people. And so I had to level up, and I had to make the decision that, hey, I'm going to actually be the CEO of a business, not just some guy who's winging it. The third thing that's really changed in the last 12 months of my life is I beat addiction. I was heavily addicted to marijuana, and you might say, you in here for some marijuana? You ever sucked dick for marijuana? No, I haven't ever sucked dick for anything, even in prison. But I know that I was addicted because I smoked that shit like cigarettes, man. I was smoking 10, 15 joints a day. I would give Snoop Dogg, T.I., and Lil Wayne a run for their money. But here's what I knew. Two things that were the problem with that. Me walking out to the parking garage and smoking a joint took, 20 minutes, 30 minutes if it was good, because you'd be slow walking back. You know what I mean? But it was killing my productivity. And I'm a productive, efficient motherfucker. But if I got to go to the garage and take 20 minutes to smoke a joint, roll it up, light it up, smoke it up, walk back in, And it takes, even if it just takes 10 and I got to do that 10 times a day, then that's 100 minutes. That's more than an hour and a half that I've spent every day smoking weed, you know, because when I was at home, I could just smoke weed in my office. I got a little door, side door to my house, and I just open it up right there in the office and smoke would flow right out. Kids would all be in daycare, so nobody's at home. The wife's not at home. It doesn't stink up the house because I just blow it right out the door. It's no big deal. But then when I moved into the office, man, it was killing my productivity, which is another thing that's changed the last 12 months. I have an actual office now, like in a nice fucking building. But I went to Wyoming earlier this year, and everybody was white in Wyoming. And I don't really trust white people to get drugs from because they tend to snitch. I'm just being real, right? I grew up kind of in the hood, and not kind of. I grew up living in the hood, and everybody I've ever bought drugs from is somebody of a different nationality other than white. And so I just don't trust white people to buy drugs from because they snitch like a motherfucker. And you can be mad at me for saying that shit, but you know it's fucking true. And so there wasn't nothing but white folks around, and I didn't feel like getting snitched on in Wyoming. Goddamn, it could be the death penalty for a joint up there for all I know. It could be like Utah. You get caught with a joint in Utah, they'd probably fucking Mormon church, crucify your ass. And so I went like a week without weed, and I detoxed really bad. I mean, we're talking, I'll spare you the details, but I detoxed. See, the thing about THC is it builds up in your intestines. And when you no longer have it, it starts to go through a withdrawal, and the things that are in your intestines have to leave your body. I'll just leave it at that. And it was rough, man. I couldn't leave my hotel room for a couple of days, shakes, couldn't eat. Even drinking alcohol didn't fix the problem. But I made through it, and I haven't smoked weed since. Matter of fact, the other night I had a dream that I was with like some hot ass chick, and she taught me to smoke weed, and I was so fucking mad at myself. And, you have dreams like that. My old lady listened to this. She's like, you was dreaming about hot ass chick. I didn't say it wasn't you, baby. I'm just saying some hot ass chick. You know how dreams are. You don't know who it is. Taught me into smoking weed. And I just did it without thinking. I was so mad at myself. When I woke up, I want to punch myself. You know, sometimes your old lady have a dream that you cheated on her and she wake up and slap you. It's like, God damn, it was just a dream, woman. Well, I want to slap myself. You smoked weed? What the fuck? But I truly never even think about smoking pot. Like I don't wake up in the morning and go, man, I missed this or anything, man. I really did beat it. And I stopped smoking cigarettes a year or two ago because David Goggins, one of my friends and mentors, asked me, he said, who you know? That's how he talks. Who you know fucking smokes cigarettes, man? That's wealthy, that's successful. Successful people don't fucking smoke cigarettes. I haven't had a cigarette since then. And I realized after listening to a gentleman named John Cheplak talk in Wyoming that marijuana was only making me run from my problems. It was only suppressing marijuana. If you put it in a bottle and you gave it like a generic drug name, it would be like fuck it all. Because I could smoke marijuana and I could be like, fuck my problems, man. I ain't got to deal with them. I'm just going to go do this and keep working. And I had a lot of problems to face. You know, I had a business that I wasn't happy with. Yes, it was making a lot of money, but I had employees that needed to go. I had some restructuring I had to do. And as long as it was making money, I was never uncomfortable enough to really step out and make the changes that need to be made. There's an old story about a dog sitting on a front porch next to an old man, and the dog is whining. And the old man's grandson says, why is the dog whining? He says, oh, he's sitting on a nail. And he says, well, why doesn't the dog get up? He says, the nail doesn't hurt enough for him to move yet. And that was me. It's like, it didn't hurt enough for me to make that move yet. But once I went through the detox, which was the one thing that I was scared of quitting anyway, dude, it truly changed my life. Just in the last 65 days, we are breaking sales records here. We've leveled up. We've cleaned house. We've rebuilt our corporation. Our core survivors are still here, like Lindsay and Matt and Roxanne and Jose. And I've put structure in place, and we're holding people accountable. We have a dress code here. I mean, beating addiction from marijuana standpoint, like totally changed my life. And I'm not telling you that you have to quit smoking pot, although hundreds of people, maybe 1,000 at this point, of people have told me that they quit smoking. I'm proud of all of them. Even, low energy Robert, we just call him Robert now because he's not stoned all the damn time. He's not low energy anymore. And, I'm proud of him. I'm proud of a lot of people. I'm proud of everybody who's told me they quit smoking cigarettes, and they told me they quit smoking weed. And here's what I know. I wasn't necessarily put here on this planet just to be a business consultant or a salesperson. I was put here on this planet to change lives. And as long as I didn't change my own life, how the fuck was I going to tell you to change your life? Because I'm a big believer in leading in the level that you're on. If you're trying to tell people how to break addiction and to quit smoking cigarettes, but you smoke cigarettes or pot or have an addiction to something, who the fuck are you to tell people you're failing? And I was failing. On the outside, I was successful, but on the inside, I was, high all the time and, was just not making the right choices in life. And I would have conversations with my clients that pay me for business stuff. And I would say things like, listen, man, you got to quit hiring hookers and, snorting cocaine on Friday with your money. You'd have more money. Listen, man, I didn't hire you to give me personal advice. I hired you to teach me how to make a fucking funnel. And well, dude, I can teach you how to make a funnel. I'm really called to help people on more levels than one. And it caused people to be haters. It caused people to be mad at me because they didn't want me in their personal life. But if you don't straighten out your personal life, you ain't going to be able to straighten out your business life either. You can make all the money in the world, but then when your wife catches you snorting cocaine and fucking hookers, she's going to take half of everything that you work for, if not more. And that's not counting attorney fees and child support. So beating addiction, it changed things for me because now I've been able to help other people beat addiction too. That's just another tool that I've added to my belt. I'm no longer Ryan the salesman, Ryan the sales trainer. I'm Ryan the life changer. I'm Ryan the guy that can teach you how to scale a business, grow a business, beat anything. You didn't go to school? Fuck it. I'll show you how to beat that shit. You got beat by your parents? I'll show you how to beat back. You got an addiction? I'll show you how to beat that. You got a fucking problem that's in your mind that you can't get out of the way? I'll tell you how to step through that. And it's allowed me to reach a broader audience and be really a mentor to people in all areas of their life, faith, family, finance, and fitness, versus just being some dude that can teach you how to close on the phone. The next thing is I became an inventor. I've invented software before called Clixo. You can go there, CLYXO.com, and you can see what I've got there. It's basically a social bookmarking site. I was the first person to ever do that. It's pretty badass. And it's absolutely free. We've got thousands of users there. Feel free to use it. It's great for SEO, so you can use it for all sorts of stuff in your local market. But I became an inventor. But this year, and it drops next week, so maybe by the time you're listening to this, you'll actually know what I'm talking about. But this year, I created something that's crazy. Something that's a huge disruption in the marketplace. And something that'll be my legacy. And I became an inventor. And I knew in order for me to become an inventor, in order for me to go mainstream, I couldn't be talking about the same old things that I used to talk about. Am I ashamed of them? Fuck no. You can scroll back on my Facebook page and, if the media wants to go, he was the guy that went to prison and talked all this shit. Yeah, that was just part of my journey. Number 5 is I stopped depriving myself. I always said, I wear a $40 Fitbit and $20 pair of jeans and a $20 shirt and T-shirts and hoodies, and I don't need the nicer things in life. There's actually an article in Entrepreneur Magazine that I wrote a long time ago called What It's Like When You Become a Millionaire. I think I wrote it in 2014. And, I said in the article, it's like some of the things that you think are millionaires are really people that have 5 million or more. Well, I'm at a point now to where, according to my bank, my net worth is in the 8 figures, and which I feel totally, honored to be able to have served that many people and have built a business that big to be in that realm and to have the portfolio of investments that I do and everything else. I worked my ass off for them. Less than a decade ago, I walked out of prison with $25 in my name. But at some point I had to start saying, okay, Ryan, you deserve this stuff. And you deserve the nicer things in life. I flew coach forever. I could afford first class for the last 3 years. And I always flew coach in the back of the plane. Then I get all pissed off because the motherfucker next to me shitting himself and coughing. And they got a sick kid screaming in my ear. I only fly first class now. And I'm just a few months away from buying a plane. Not a plane, let me rephrase. I'm a few months away from buying a jet. And I wanted to stop depriving myself. I always told people, fuck a Rolex and fuck nice clothes and what a waste of money. And I learned how to buy assets that I like that would typically depreciate, like nice cars and nice watches and clothes. They are what they are. You're not going to resell your clothes and make money. But I know that if I buy a Rolex watch, like the Submariner that I'm wearing for $6,200, and it sells for $8,500 all day, every day online, in the event that I need to sell it, I would profit from it. I know that the average McLaren 570S sells for somewhere around $182,000 at the time I'm recording this, and I got mine for $161. I know that the average NSX sells for 178. I got mine for 148. I know how to get deals. I'm sorry, 138. I know how to get deals on assets now, and I don't have to deprive myself. I can actually indulge and still profit from them. So I started like rewarding myself. Forever, I told myself, don't spend any money on me. Go spend money in the stock market. It served me well. I'm up almost 80% year over year in the stock market right now with the stocks that I've bought. And that was what I would shop for. But it's also time that doesn't really help me. That doesn't make me feel any better. So it was time for me to stop depriving myself. And I'm not telling you to go out until you've made it, my friends. You shouldn't go out there and start, splurging on Louis Vuitton wallets and Gucci flippers and all these things. Like if you're not a millionaire, I really believe that you shouldn't be buying that stuff. But I'm at a point in my life now to where I can afford those things. And those things are not precious to me, but they remind me of the hard work and what I did for the last 8 years to be able to look down at the watch I'm wearing that's covered in diamonds and be like, I deserve this shit. When I was in a meetup not too long ago with a friend of mine that has a Bugatti and another friend of mine that has a Pagani and another friend of mine that has a McLaren, the McLaren guy came up to me and he said, hey, man, if you're going to hang out with us, you have to dress nicer. No offense, you cool dude, but you're going to have to dress nicer. You're going to have to go get you a nice watch. I went out and I bought a Hublot Black Magic watch, which is an awesome watch. They retail for about $12,500. I bought mine for like $8,500, $9,500. And I showed up at the next meeting with the guys and they said, hey, man, that's a nice watch, but you're going to need to go get you a Rolex. There's a status symbol behind that. And nobody in this industry is going to take you seriously. And I thought, well, man, that's that whole minnow bait, whale bait equation. Rolexes are whale bait. People realize what it is. It's a status symbol. And even though I was against it all these years, there's ways to sell them and make money. And it also lets these whales know that I'm on their level. And the car was one thing, but I look like the guy that spent my last dime on that car. They're not going to do business with me. And the next biggest thing that's changed for me over the last 12 months, especially once I beat addiction, was I started showing up. I just came in from Broken Bow, Oklahoma 2 days ago. I spent the weekend there with my family glamping. That's glamorous camping. We rented a cabin and a really nice cabin too, and on the lake and all this other stuff, and was there with two other families that I'm very close friends with, two of my best friends and their families. And it was absolutely a great time. And I never checked my phone for business the whole time I was there. I spent 100% of my time focused on my family. I showed up. I'm showing up every morning in our sales meeting for our team here and our employees here. I'm showing up every day for my clients. I've created boundaries. I've gotten rid of attachments that I didn't need to, and I've started showing up for my family. While I was there in Oklahoma, I took my son horseback riding, my sons horseback riding. I took them mountain climbing. I took them fishing. I took them, taught them how to start a campfire. I taught them how to cook meat on the grill. Like in any other time in the past, I would have sat there on my phone the whole time trying to do deals on Facebook. And what I know is I started showing up, and guess what else happened? My wife started showing up for me. My kids they never not respected me. They love me. I'm their fucking hero, but now they love me even more. I guarantee you my kids in school right now, when I climbed a mountain with my dad this weekend, his old ass made it to the top. It's funny, I go take a piss we're fishing, and I go take a piss behind this shed, because that's what you do when you're out in the middle of nowhere. And I look up and I said, Asher, I think we can climb to the top of this mountain. He's pissing next to me. I said, I think we can climb to the top of this mountain just by going straight up. The woods aren't thick. I think we can make it up there. And he goes, let's do it, Dad. And Asher, man, he's an athletic, talented little kid, man. And I don't know where the hell he gets it from. And it must be his mom's side. And he hauls ass up this mountain. He beat me to the top. I mean, we went straight up the mountain. We get up there and we realized there was a trail that allowed a trail on the other side, that if we'd have just walked down a little bit further, we could have caught that trail and life would have been a lot easier. We did shit the hard way, right? Which is true Stewman fashion. And he's a Stewman, obviously. But it was a moment that both of us got to the top and we embraced and we hugged. And he was like, Dad, I love you. This is so much fun. I'm like, I'm proud of you, man. You made it to the top. Any other time, I'd said, Asher, hold on a minute. Let me check my phone. But I started showing up for my family. I started showing up. I went horseback riding with my son. And you know what? People took pictures of me so that I could have them later, but I didn't even have my phone to take pictures of myself, because I wanted to be present for my family. I start showing up as a friend too. I realized some people I thought were my friends aren't my friends. And some people who I thought weren't my friends are my friends. And once I got sober, I realized the difference. I realized those who are my supporters and those who are my reporters. A supporter is somebody who is with you. You know, obviously they're on your team. They support you. A reporter is somebody who reports you to other people. That's what you watch CNN. They report on Trump all day, every day. Whether it's fake news or not, that's all they do is they talk about somebody else. I don't want to focus on reporters. People that talk about me that are, you know, reporting, whether it's fake news or not, they could be talking about real shit that I did, but they're talking about it in a negative way and putting their spin on it, gossiping. I don't want to surround myself with those people anymore. And life tricks us. It talks us into focusing on the reporters because we try to change their mind, just like when somebody has a different political standpoint than you try to change their mind, but it doesn't work. Instead, I started focusing on my supporters and I start showing up for them. And man, we're making record sales over here. We're changing lives. Every day I get messages of things that people have done with their mindset that's never happened before. And so these 6 things have been huge for me this year. Deciding to level up and actually doing it. It's one thing to make a decision. It's another thing to execute on it. Deciding to run a business and not just some fun lifestyle anymore. Beating addiction. Becoming an actual inventor. Stopping depriving myself, and I've started showing up. Now, I'd like to give you an opportunity to go over to forceofaverage.com. And at forceofaverage.com, there's a video there for you. It's absolutely free. Just give me your information to prove that you're a real human. And I want you to watch that video because that video is the story behind why I made this shift. It's the most life-changing video you will ever watch. I promise you, if it's not life-changing for you, send me a message on Facebook. I'll send you $1. It will change your life. It will change the way you look at life. It will change the way you do life. And it'll put a different perspective that no preacher, no teacher, no scholar, no anybody's ever put in your life. And this is what my biggest talent is. I realized this when I was high as giraffe pussy on ayahuasca. I realized that my talent isn't coaching, consulting, or training. Those are my talents. But the reason why I'm good at those things is because I can take very complex subjects and break it down and make it stupidly easy so that anybody can understand. If I can tell my kids the story of the force of average and they go, wow, that's pretty cool, Dad, I get that. Okay, I'm on it. Then you'll get on it and you'll take action as well because the simpler things are, the easier it is to make a decision. That's sales 101, baby. So make sure you go over to forceofaverage.com and watch that video. It's about 37 minutes long. I'm telling you, it'll be the most intriguing, most crazy 37 minutes of your life. Make sure you leave a review of this show. We always ask that every single time. And if you're going through addiction, if you are struggling in your mindset, if you're looking to scale your business and stop being just a salesperson, a jack of all trades, then I would highly recommend you join my coaching program at bfaentourage.com. That's Break Free Academy, bfaentourage.com. And let me personally coach you every single week. I can walk you through how I did all this stuff. It's only $3,000 for an entire year. That's less than $8 a day. And I'm telling you, for less than $8 a day, I can change your life and change the game of life as you play it. So, hey, I know this is a little different than our typical podcast. I know my tone's even completely different because I wanted to come across as this empathetic person that understands the situation you're in and really talk to you about how I've leveled up and all that. And I just appreciate you letting me interrupt that pattern and change things for you. If you know somebody who needs to hear this, if you know one of my haters and you need them to fucking hear this so you can rub it in a little bit, I'd appreciate that too. Make sure you leave me a review on iTunes. Send this over to somebody who needs to hear it. Catch you on the next episode. Later.